So I'll just say a little bit about myself. For those of you who don't know me, probably most of you, but some of you definitely do. My name's Keane, and in 2003, I was like any other person. I was fascinated by ancient Egypt, though, always since I was a little boy, since going to the Tutankhamun exhibition when I was a really young boy. And we talked about the Great Pyramid of Egypt earlier, and I was absolutely fascinated by why they built this. And in 2003, on this special day, I had had enough of wondering why, and I needed to know. And I needed to know in that moment. And it was that the intensity of needing to know, like a fury of come on, for Pete's sake. I was going to swear then, but I thought, it doesn't look very mysterious. It looks pretty functional, and it's got to be really, really obvious. And it was this sort of intensity of mind that sort of caused a process that actually only took a few minutes. And I had all these thoughts. I was actually brushing my teeth, rushing through my head about, come on, no, why did they build it? And all these ideas that I've been reading about. And in the end, I was like, oh, well, maybe, who knows, let's just chill. It's time to go to bed anyway. So I went to bed. But I was so activated in my mind and in all my being, to be honest with you, that I didn't turn the light off quite straight away. And I just lay in bed and I stared at the light. It's one of those Chinese lanterns, the round, almost like a moon or a sun. And then I thought, okay, I think I can chill, I think I can relax, I think I can go to sleep now. So I turned off the light. And then I would say about 2 minutes later, I was like, oh, I've got it. It's all to do with the light. And in that moment, this light erupted inside of my body, inside of my mind. It illuminated every ounce of my being and changed my life forever. And I had this full download about what the pyramid was for, to bring the light into Egypt and into whoever was in that sarcophagus. And it goes on and on. I'm not going to go into that because that's not the talk. But that maybe for another day. But in that this illuminated state that I was in, enlightened experience, lasted 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, or less than that, within a few hours, I got guided to learn about alchemy and Kabbalah and Kundalini yoga. And in this book, called The Tower of Alchemy, it said, and it's hard to explain, but the book shone out at me from the bookcase, and I opened it, and the words shone out at me. I don't know if anyone's experienced something like that. Yeah. And it said, Kundalini yoga in the East is what alchemy is in the West. And I knew I needed to know what alchemy was, because I realized it wasn't what I thought it was. But I also knew that in order to understand alchemy, I really needed to practice Kundalini yoga. That was a very strong and clear intuition, and I knew it was very accessible. And it was. I was living in London, and I found Amber. She's absolutely amazing, beautiful lady, African descent, and she just blew me away, all dressed in white with this long flowing hair. And whatever happened in that Kundalini yoga session amplified everything that I was already feeling. If you can imagine that, I was already like, oh. And it just amplified it, I would estimate, by about 10 times. I was just like, I could almost contain my ecstasy. It was so incredible. It's almost embarrassing. I remember coming out of the yoga class and someone went to give me a free paper, like a metro or something. And I went, oh my God, thank you so much, free for me. Oh, and I gave a big hug. I was like, oh, I completely overwhelmed by this gift, So yeah, I've calmed down a little bit since then. That was almost 20 years ago. It's coming up to my anniversary. I might have a party or something if you want to come. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into spirituality fully, and how I got into Kundalini yoga fully as well. And yeah, I've been practicing it ever since and teaching it since 2005. I'm going to focus a lot on the yoga today, because I know I've known for 20 years that it works, and you know, sometimes we don't always know why it works, but it definitely does work, and that's the most important thing for me about the Kundalini yoga. What is Kundalini then? So Kundalini then is really, I mean, it's kind of a strange word, isn't it? And a lot of people know, I'm sure everybody here knows, is it getting quieter? Is it me? Oh, you just turned it down. Hey, it's turned me up. So it's a strange word. I always say a lot of people, nearly everybody here, I'm sure, we talked already about the chakras. They know about the chakras. But not everybody knows about the Kundalini. It's a little bit, it's a strange word, maybe it's a bit spurious. Some people are afraid of the Kundalini. Can you believe that? And there's a lot of fear mongering. But you know, Kundalini is life. You know, it's who you really are, who we are. It's the life force, the force of all creation. You know, there's nothing more intimate than that. Nothing more close than that flow of energy that comes from the Creator, from the you know, the divine source. So it really is, all we're trying to do is to invite the most natural of processes. We shouldn't even really need to do any yoga at all. And of course, what the Great Pyramid of Egypt used to do was it would do the yoga for everybody in the land of Kemet, what we now call lovingly as ancient Egypt. But you know, because of the plethora of different frequencies that we talked about that we are subjected to, we need to do the work in order to overcome all of these internal and external influences, so we can shine just like the Great Pyramid. So am I making sense so far? All right, cool. Thank you. Thank Goddess for that. So yeah, we in Kundalini Yoga, we talk about Kundalini meaning the nerve of the soul, and we are working a lot with the nervous system as well, that in order to get the cerebral spinal fluid pumping and pulsing and moving and waving up through the spine, through the spinal cord. So a little bit about yoga for anyone who doesn't really know what yoga means. I mean, you might have heard this a million times before. Yoga is really means union, this sacred union, and this is a lot to do with the flow of the Kundalini, which is about the polarity of life. Right? We've realized that life is in a dual form. So you've got the Ida and the Pingala, which is essentially the moon and the sun, the lunar and the solar currents which pulse through our body. And we're inviting that activation of these two primary currents that pulse and wave. Like that. And interestingly, they make the figure 8, which of course encapsulates the 7 chakras. So really, when we're talking about the chakras wouldn't do anything if it wasn't for the Kundalini. You know, they would just sit there, not activated, not spinning. You need the Kundalini to move through to get them to spin, and then to move all the way up through our sevenfold nature and all the way up and out to create the aura, which a lot of us now are calling the Taurus, the T-O-R-U-S. I'm actually a Taurus with the T-A-U-R-U-S. That's why I'm so incredibly grounded. But it actually the energy actually goes in both directions. We'll probably talk a little bit about that later, to create that toroidal field. Okay. So we're causing, and in the middle, we talk all about the middle way in Kundalini Yoga and any real true spiritual practice. We're looking for that sweet spot, which is really the middle The middle pillar, of course, is called in the West. The middle way people talk about in Buddhism. That's the Sushamana, right? That's that sort of psychic spiritual channel, and it's all about being a channel, a conduit for these primal currents that will bring us into the balance. So that's where we want to be, and that will activate the neutral mind. And when we activate the neutral mind, it's also called the meditative mind, we come into peace, and that's what it's all about. Got it? I'll say some more just to clarify. And you notice that we are talking about three, therefore, which again is, of course, in 2 dimensions, a pyramid, a triangle. You have the apex, so you have the one, the source, that comes down, and then it splits into the polarity of, let's say, Idam, Pingala, male and female, however you want to look at it, and together that makes the trinity of the divine masculine and divine feminine brought together in sacred union. So I think that's probably relatively clear. We also talk about Kundalini being the curl of the beloved, a little bit like the curl of the hair, because it curls around the base of the spine 3.5 times. And of course, 3.5 times 2 is 7 chakras. Because all of life is about 7, in case you missed it, right? I'll probably come in a lot into sound in this as well, actually. And in sound, when we are hearing vibration, we talk about do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, which is the 7, and then do, again, we're back to the octave. Well, and then we perceive those sounds differently with the eyes, as the rainbow, from the red to the orange, to the yellow to the green, to the blue, to the indigo, to the ultraviolet. We saw a rainbow yesterday, didn't we, Beck? It was beautiful, to illustrate that. Every time I see a rainbow, I just feel so hopeful about as long as we've got a rainbow, we're going to be all right. Maybe I'll touch a little bit about the 7 then, because I think the 7 is so important. If we really meditate on the 7, then I think we really can bring ourselves into alignment of the 7-fold nature which we make up. And we are that rainbow, we are that life force. The 1 and the 7 are the same. Does that make sense? The oneness contains the 7. Okay. So to illustrate that, so I've talked about the sound, I've talked about the colour, and maybe I'll bring in a little bit of mantra now, just because I don't, so I follow the theme of the day, evidently. Who knew? All right, I won't do the on because, that's been done. But at the base chakra, we announce Lam, L-A-M. Do you hear it, Lam? Yeah. Okay, let's give it a go. So it's a draw it out. So it's La. Beautiful. And then as you feel into that was the Muladhara, the base. As you feel into the sacral, into Svadhisthana, we can go for the Vam with a V, deep breath. So, and my favourite, we're not allowed to have personal favourites, but my favourite is Ram, and I really like to sort of roar that R in there, like a lion. Mark, by the way, is the winged lion, in case you missed it. And then you're feeling into the heart chakra, we have Yam with a Y, but a little bit like yummy, Deep breath. And then then we make it up to the throat chakra, which is, the real key to awakening and transitioning into the higher centers, which is what it's all about in Kundalini yoga and Kundalini awakening. So it's hum with an H, really get that H in there. Open up the throat chakra. Really beautiful. And then, we do get to do it after all. As we get to the third eye, the Ajna chakra, we can bring in the Om. And it is, we do it that three-way. The R, like the apex, how I was talking about. That. Notice how with the A, it's the apex into the polarity, and that union, that sacred union, comes at the crossbar of the letter A, almost making like a pyramid as well. So A, or So for me, the U really is the Holy Grail. It has that letter, and that's what it's all about. Is coming into the heart chakra, actually, that Holy Grail, and then the M is the Egyptian hieroglyph for water, repeated. It's just a wavelength, and of course we manifest ourselves continuously into the mother, into material waking reality. So all those M words are really important in the Maya. So the crown, we just stay silent. So we can have a few moments of already inviting a little bit of meditation just to observe the sounds, the thoughts, and the breath. Okay, thank you. So I'm still on this sort of passion of the seven. I did a talk on alchemy recently, and there were 7 stages of alchemy, moving from calcination. I always use the chakras as my reference point. So calcination to dissolution, to separation, to conjunction, to fermentation, to distillation, to coagulation. So it's the process of turning the lead of our ego, the inert matter, the primal materia of our being as it is, into the golden, shining, beautiful, beautiful being that we really are. So it's allowing that essence to be flowered into the soul, embodied in harmony with the spirit. We also talk about the ladder of the planets in alchemy. So I'll go over this briefly, because the planets we talk about a lot in Kundalini Yoga, which is what I'm meant to be talking about. So we start with the lead, and then we go to the tin, then we go to the iron, and then we go to the copper, and then we go to the mercury, and then the silver, and the gold. Okay, and then the last reference for the 7 is the planets. So we go Jupiter, then we go Saturn, then we go Mars, then we go Venus, then we go Mercury again, and then of course the moon and the sun. So it's by meditating on this, the profound nature of how we embody the 7, that we can allow the 7 chakras, if you like, the vortex, 7 vortices. What's the plural vortex? I should know, really. It is vortices. I always want to say vortexes, but to spin. It moves up and up and out and all around. Okay, so it's important to know that the Kundalini is the sexual energy. And there is a lot of there has been a lot of hindrance over us fully embracing sex and the sexual energy. And of course that's really important if you want to subdue a population. We talked about colonization, and it's true, it happened here, of course, as you all know, 2,000 years ago. We're deep in this. So the sex energy and the sex in general is something to be celebrated, as we all we all know here, but most people secretly know, but somehow we have to be sort of bashful about it. So we're here to bring back the celebration of the most natural and beautiful thing in the world, which is sex and sexual energy. And that's how Tantra comes in, because you're cultivating, harnessing, becoming a channel for the sexual energy. And in case you missed it, the reason for that is because the force of all creation is pro-creation, right? And it's how the universe is created is through this sacred union, this sex, So that's all I'll probably say on that. So what's the secret? Well, the secret is that we're here to get the glandular system to secrete. The word is almost identical, secrete, right? And they have wanted this to be hidden from us for a long time in the West. I mean, this is the beautiful thing about the East, because it sort of kept going all the way through the British Empire, and then these people became really interested in coming back to Britain, and then later, of course, in the 60s, which Yogi Bhajan was one, the yogis actually left India and went out to the West. Yogi Bhajan, from my tradition, well, I say my tradition, it's one of my traditions. He actually started in Canada in 1969 before he went down into the United States in 1970. It's the holy trinity of the pineal gland, or the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and the hypothalamus that we're here to awaken. Okay, and you're not meant to have favourites, but of course you already know the favourite is the pineal gland or the pineal gland. I actually pronounce them interchangeably. I can never quite make up my mind. But pineal gland's kind of nice because it invokes the pine cone, and anyone who's been to my apartment will know I'm completely obsessed with pine cones. I have this huge one from California, absolutely fantastic. They have that sacred geometry of the spiral, which are two subjects hopefully I'll get on to talk about as well. So when we get that Kundalini activated from its sleeping serpent, my website is actually sleepingserpent.com, little plug there. It's curled around the base of the spine, and when it wakes up, the idea is you get it moving up through these chakras. Now, all of us are on a journey of awakening, and there are going to be blocks, psychic, spiritual blocks according to our history, and our perception in the present is coloured by what's happened before us, right? And a lot of that is individual, and a lot of that is collective, and a lot of that is in this life, and some of it is from before. Collectively, the land has an energy. This country has a very strong energy because so much has happened here, and we've had such an impact on the world. So all of these things, but then there's the whole past life thing as well. But the good news is that in this moment, it's the only one we have. We have the choice, and consciousness is about choice. We have the choice to emancipate ourselves in this moment from the past. Okay, so maybe it'll happen right now. So it's about freedom. It's about love, I always say, but it's also about freedom. And freedom starts from within. And when you're free inside, you're free outside. And it doesn't matter what happens outside. You can never be a slave if you're free inside. So, you with me so far? Yes. Just checking. So, how do we find this freedom? So, what happened to me was all to with light. We're here to lighten up. What's the best way to do that is actually humour. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I always hope that I introduce an element of humour. I don't really do it on purpose. It's just kind of the way I am, but not because I don't take life seriously. No one takes life more seriously than me, because I'm dedicating my life to awakening the life force within me and others. But yeah, it's all to do with becoming light-hearted. You know, that expression, light-hearted. The clue's already in the word. The clues are already all around us, in the words, in the language, in numbers, in masonry, in the stone, in the buildings, in the architecture, all around us, all the time, in nature. So, I literally became enlightened by staring at an electric light. So I never underestimate the importance of light. Excuse me. So on the way, Becca and I were making our early journey from Bristol, and the sun was very low in the sky, as it is this time of year. And I mentioned Amber, my first Kundalini yoga teacher, and then she would always say, and this is something I've been doing for 20 years, that the safe time to stare at the sun is in the early morning, and then again in the evening. But we naturally do that anyway. We're sort of, when we are actually awake, or we stay up late, or not that late, we do always bond over that experience of the sunrise and the sunset, and the way it sort of affects us. And what I've always done, by the way, is at sunset, is to thank the sun for the day, because it deserves a lot of our gratitude, because we wouldn't really be here without the sun. And there's a lot of focus on the moon, isn't there, these days? But let's not forget the sun. It's about the balance between the two. So light is a real key, and I would say, if you can use the sun in that way, and bring that into your body, and realize that you are light, I am light, you are light, we are light together, then that can be, there's no bigger key. And we were talking about this on the way, that it's almost like we're being instructed to be afraid of the sun. I mean, it's like, how ridiculous is that? It's like, be ashamed of sex. What? Who thought of that? Don't stare at the sun. It's like, don't go out in the sun. Protect yourself from the sun. Ah! What is this strange fiery ball in the sky? It's the source of all life on this planet. Respect. So, it's all about the light. So the way in which we illuminate our minds and our bodies is about the spine, right? And I mentioned the clues in the words. So spine, if you take out the E, what are we left with? Yeah, so and what did I say? The Kundalini is there to do what? To spin the chakras, to get those vortices going. So it's all about allowing that energy to spin. So in order to do that, we have to become lighter, take ourselves less seriously, drop the weight of the past, and just let go and surrender to that which we all really are. And this just takes moments of trust. And when I was in lockdown, I was grateful that I landed myself in the jungle with about 25 or 30 other people, and I didn't have to experience lockdown. I was initiated into the most magical time of my entire life by being in this jungle with these beautiful people that managed to escape from this incredible gathering called Tribal Gathering in Panama. I don't know if you've heard of it. All these tribes from around the world gather to talk about their wisdom, and then we have a big dance party on the beach for 4 days. It was called the last festival on Earth. I had no idea there was a pandemic going on, but it's... we certainly knew about it when we got out. This sort of militarized police taking our passports away. So we managed to escape to the jungle for about 5 months, and absolutely incredible time. I mean, we can't even go into how profound it was to live in community with such awake, conscious, beautiful people. Wow. And the message I got when everyone was going through this sort of hardship, if you like, I was like, well, we've already done the work, so we don't have to go through this process. It's like, wow, we are being looked after. We're going through a different initiation at this time, so it's to do with trust. And the message we got and the message we sent out to the world, those of you who follow me on social media would have seen this. I haven't been on social media all year, but before that, was trust the universe. And we put it into stones and we put it into the ground, and then we had a drone. They can be used positively too, and took a photograph of all of us in a circle around the message, trust the universe, in that time when people perhaps a bit confused about what was going on. So there's always a higher power at work, and right now we are, of course, part of an initiation into something a lot more beautiful. And this is the time that we were called to incarnate in order to usher in this new golden age that starts with the new earth. Aho! Aho! I'm going off piece. Let me check the time. 25 minutes. So Kundalini Yoga then, is, and of course the union is not just the left and the right, the male and the female, but also as above, so below. We talk about in alchemy, bringing heaven and earth together. So we are here when we talk about the new earth to bring heaven to earth. By the way, it's already here, so congratulations. Yeah. We talk about kriyas in Kundalini Yoga. It's very specific. When I'm doing Kundalini Yoga as taught by Yogi Bhajan, I don't change it. If I'm doing something else, I do all sorts of things. But when I'm doing this tradition, I do the kriyas exactly as they're taught. So we have certain body postures, in case you don't know. They're called asanas. They're chosen very specifically, and they're in a very specific sequence in order to produce very specific results. That whole thing is called a kriya, and kriya means action. And what do actions give? Results. I felt like a game show host then. What was his name? Bruce Forsyth. That was it. What are points made? Prizes. Some of you remember that. Well, probably all of you, actually. Most of you. I'm 50 next year. Yeah. So it's going to be a double whammy, celebrating my experience in my 50th, half a century on this beautiful sacred earth of ours. So the question is, why do we do that? Why on earth do we do anything with the body at all? Well, because we're here to become embodied. We're here to illuminate our minds, but we're here to also to illuminate the crystallization of thought, which is the point of us being here, which is our body. We're here to be embodied, to embody the soul and to embody the spirit. So that's why we focus on body work. And being a Taurus, that's why I really, really wanted to focus on yoga, because I didn't know anything about yoga, but I knew it was to do with moving the body around. Yeah. You don't actually need to move the body at all. You could just be sitting here right now as you all are. But the point is, if you're in your body, then you're doing the yoga, or in fact you've done the yoga. So congratulations if you feel that. But a lot of people they're not at home, right? They're up here. If they're not up even just here, they're just in this little compartment in the left side of the brain, which compartmentalizes everything into rational, logistical thought. And this is crazy. Because we need the right brain, the intuitive, the creative, the divine feminine is coming back. Aha! So it's all about the body. So I'd like to talk a little bit about, I'm not going to talk about it, we'll just feel into our spine, because it's all about the spine, and you can do it. So the good thing, I like stealth yoga, when you're sitting there, you could be just moving away from the chair a little bit and just kind of feeling into the spine and just moving it backwards and forwards, just breathing in to the spine as you push the chest out, and then breathing out as you come back. Do you feel that? So we do a spinal flex in Kundalini Yoga, which is very pronounced. I'll do it for you now. Very dramatic. So it's kind of like that. So you're making these big C shapes with the spine. Making these big C shapes with the spine. So you could already be kind of giving that a go. And the spinal flex is really, I always say, if you have the spinal flex down, with the breath, then you're allowing the Kundalini to flow. And we're here to allow the energy to flow. And if you allow the energy to flow, which is just the same as just saying trust in life, trust that you are life, trust that you are here on purpose. If everything else is on purpose, then maybe you are, and I are here on purpose as well, a divine mission. And then it just naturally takes care of itself. But inevitably, at some point, we encounter these challenges along the way, these blocks, okay? And we'll come on to that in a moment. So I've already talked about the breath, right? In yoga, we talk about pranayama. And something's going on with the throat chakra, so it's not very useful if you're doing a talk. Becca said to me this morning, she said, "You're talking a lot this morning." I said, "Well, that's probably pretty handy if I'm doing a talk today." Yeah, the breath is really key. The breath, in case you missed it, is this intimate relationship with the outer world, the apparent waking world, which we are continuously in this present moment manifesting into existence, such as the power that we behold, right? But also you're drawing in and you're giving it back. So it's about giving and receiving. It's like making love. It's giving and receiving. So we can just focusing on the breath and feeling into the spine is enough, right? That is the Kundalini yoga. That's the key. You know, we can overcomplicate things, and nothing is more complicated than Kundalini yoga after 20 years, I can tell you. It's very complicated, but it doesn't need to be. So in this hour, what I'm hoping to really make clear to you is that it's really, really simple, okay? So these are the keys. And everything else is just paraphernalia. You don't need it. You can do it, or you can drop it. It's really up to you. But these keys are really important. I mean, you know, if you don't breathe, you die. You know, if there was no light, we wouldn't be here. You know, if you had no spine, you would struggle, I think. But because this spine is like the axis mundi. You know, it's that. You know, it's like the same that goes from pole to pole within the earth itself. You know, so it's really profound. Nothing more profound than the spine. So if we can just focus on the spine, then everything else will follow. And the spine is the first part of the body to form in the womb, and everything else kind of branches off like a tree, and that ends up being a beautiful human baby like us. So maybe we can bring in a breath. No sounds are inappropriate, I learned today, so. Well, Cantonara. So the breath of fire is really the one that, the Kundalini, in case you missed it, is like a sacred fire. In alchemy, the Kundalini is referred to as the secret fire, okay? This secret fire is what we're here to activate and to move all the way through the system, and everything kind of gets cleansed by this spiritual fire. This light just shines out all the darkness of that which we identify with, but really it's a false identification, and nothing that is ever true is ever lost in that process of that kind of fire, if that makes sense. So the breath of fire is really the one that we use for that reason in Kundalini yoga. It's very simple. It's a rhythmic breath. The inhalation is exactly equal to the exhalation. We do it through the nose if it's clear, otherwise you can use the mouth, that's fine. The speed is not important, but the rhythm is. If you get the rhythm wrong, like if you were to go really long inhalation and a short exhalation or vice versa, you could hyperventilate, especially if you go fast. The faster you go, the more energy you get going in the nabi, in the navel plexus, right? But if you're not used to it, I recommend you start slow, okay? So you're up for the breath of fire? Okay, so it's breathing through the nose if it's clear, perfectly rhythm, and you're breathing into the belly. So here, this is like the bellows. This is the furnace that gets the fire going. You know, in alchemy, when we're trying to turn that lead to gold, we're using these bellows. So these are your bellows. You're breathing into the belly, excuse me, and do it now. And then you're bringing the belly in to force that breath out. Really bring that belly in. So when you're breathing in, it's like you're blowing into a balloon. And then breathing out, bring the belly all the way in towards the spine. And then we're just keeping that rhythm going. So we get to start slow. Good. And then if you're up for it, you could speed up. Otherwise, you could continue. So I'll go a bit faster to show you. Inhale. And hold. And exhale. Yeah, really nice, really nice. And then maybe do a really long, drawn out breath in. And really long, drawn out breath out. And again. And all the way out. Let go and let go. Inhale. All the way in. And let everything go. Long and deep breathing. And one more time. Landing. Good, well done. So yeah, breath is a real key. And a lot of the time, you know, in the world, you notice that people are breathing in a way that is almost apologizing for their own existence, like kind of like a shallow breath, a sort of contraction in the chest. Not you guys, but you know, we've seen it before. So the more that we can begin to open the chest. I wasn't trying to impersonate anyone. It just feels good, and that's why these things are powerful symbols, right? The more we can embrace life. You know, we're here to be open, right? All right, good. So that's the breath. Now, I would say, if anything is the real key, it's going to be what I'm going to share with you next. This is advanced yoga. Some of you, I'm sure, have done it already, but some of you have not. And this is the bandha. Bandha means to bind, to hold back, not long, because then you know what's the opposite? What is it if we say live backwards? Anti-life. So you don't hold it back for long. Just the same as when you dam a river, or you have. We had 14 locks in Newport, where I grew up in South Wales, which is interesting because it's like the double 7. And then you have the 7, of course, as well, which is interesting. Which maybe I'll talk about that later. So you're sort of, the water's it's building up, but it can't go past yet. You know, building up. And then suddenly you release that lock, release that dam, and it's like whoosh! All that energy is released, a lot more energy than you would otherwise naturally get. And this is the key, is the bandha. We have 3 bandhas that we use independently of each other, and then we use them all together. Is this new to anyone? Good. Good. Okay, cool. So we can do that at the end of an inhalation or an exhalation. The first one doesn't really matter. It's called the master key in Kundalini Yoga, the Mula Bandha. It's often known about in Kundalini Yoga, in my tradition, we call it Mul Bandh, which is like kind of the root lock. Okay, so we'll do that at the end of an inhalation. What we'll do is 3 things, very simple. You can do this. This is super stealth yoga, but it's the master keys. It's awesome. You squeeze the anal muscles together, right? Then the urethral tract, as if you were to stop yourself from peeing. And then you bring that navel in. You've already done it, okay? 1, 2, 3. Anal muscles, urethral tract, navel. Anal muscles, urethral tract, navel. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. So it's a 1, 2, 3. So it almost becomes one movement. So it's like, okay, so give it a go. So inhale. 1, 2, 3. Hold. A little bit longer. Exhale. Good, okay. And if you practice this in your own time, obviously be careful, be mindful. If you ever get dizzy, it's always a sign to stop, relax, lie down, come back to the ground, come back to the earth. But yeah, there's nothing more powerful than that. But if you want to go further, from Mul Bandha, we go into Uddiyana Bandha, which is the diaphragm lock, which is very, very simple. All we do is we lift up through the diaphragm. You see that? Just lift. So we don't normally do that at the end of an inhalation. I do, but I recommend that you don't if you're new to it. At the end of an exhalation. So inhale, exhale, Lift up through the diaphragm. Really lift kind of in and then up and then hold for as long as that's comfortable. Something for you to play around with in your own time. Okay, relax. Good. And we'll do the last one with the Jalanda band is the neck lock. And obviously we're getting into the higher centers. We'll talk about that in a moment, why that is. Okay, so we're just bringing the chin in towards the chest. See that? Kind of in and causing a tightness, like an elongation at the back of the neck. Does that make sense? So it's really stealth, right? But this is really, really efficient. If you do it with enough intensity, okay, and enough purpose. So it's about being fully committed, basically. All right, so inhale, exhale. Okay, neck lock, bringing the chin in towards the chest. Feel that tightness and that elongation at the back of the neck. Hold. Okay, beautiful, good. Is anyone feeling anything yet? One person. All right, yeah, it comes with practice. 20 years, they say. No, hopefully not that long. No, I would say for a while, I had no idea. Like, I had no idea how it was working. It worked for me, but I couldn't make sense of it. Do you understand? Like, I would say it took about 3 years for the penny to drop. 3 bloody years of doing this every week. And then suddenly I was like, oh yeah, of course. And then now I can't even imagine that I couldn't understand the embodiment of it. But that was my journey. But then I was living in London, so it was pretty intense there. Okay, so Mahaband, the great seal of yoga, is all three together. You up for this? Yes. All right, let's do this. So as I say, can we get pretty powerful? So I recommend to do it at the end of an exhalation. Okay, so we're going to pull all three together. Can you remember them all? Yes, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so inhale, deep breath. Exhale all the way out, let everything go. Good, good. And then pull, that's it. Root lock first, up through the diaphragm lock, and then the neck lock. That's the Mahaband, the great seal of yoga. Congratulations. Hold it for as long as it's comfortable. And when you need to take a breath in again, please do. Well done. So these bandhas are there because there are 3 psychic knots. Okay, we've got the knot of Brahma, the knot of Vishnu, and the knot of Shiva. Right? These psychic knots are there when we're born. It's just a thing. You know, like if we were to awaken with a full Kundalini, we would probably explode. Yeah, remember spontaneous combustion? I don't know what happened to that, but I always believed in that. I don't know. So I kind of believe that's what would happen. You know, so life is a journey. We are here to gradually allow this journey to unfold, to allow more of the life force through. We're here to strengthen our nervous system. We're here to calm and clarify the mind, and to prepare ourselves emotionally. So that we can actually hold the energy and become a conduit for that energy. Otherwise, you know, we'd be in trouble, and that does happen. And that's why Kundalini gets a bad rap about these people who have a Kundalini awakening, because something very intense happens to them that causes the energy to come through, the fullness of their being when they've done no preparation for it. And a lot of that preparation really needs to be up here in the mind. So that's why meditation is really important. Yeah, okay, so yeah, these 3 psychic knots, they're just kind of there at the base, in case you missed it. Chakra, Muladhara at the heart, Anahata, and in the third eye, Ajna. All right, so let's see, I've got about just a few minutes left, so I'll whiz right through. So the mudras are really, really, really important. If you haven't experienced yoga, but you've seen pictures of yoga, you won't always notice that people are doing this with their hands or something similar. And the question is why? A lot of you here will already know that's the mudra. A friend of mine actually doesn't even practice yoga. He's been my best friend since when I used to grow up in Wales. When he found out about these mudras, he just started doing them when he was driving. He was a truck driver at the time. Just started doing it when he was driving the truck, because it's kind of something you can do when you're with the steering wheel. And he started just like to trip out. And it's like, blood, I had to stop doing it. It was so powerful. So don't underestimate, because the mind goes, well, this is not doing anything, but if you do something enough with enough focus and intensity and embodiment, then you get the results. It's just getting up. It's just about getting out of the way, getting out of our own bloody way. There I said it. We're stepping up. I said Pete last time. What's next? Who knows? We've only got a few minutes. Might get away with it. I am from Wales after all. So the mudra. So you've got the Keane mudra, which is the seal of self-realization, self-knowledge, which is just, if you can't see what I'm doing there, I'm putting the thumb and the forefinger together. I invite you to do that. But please feel free to do the Keane mudra. Okay, and then we're bringing the energy of Jupiter ascending. In joke for film buffs, right? And then you can bring in the second for Saturn, the Shuni mudra, which is to do with wisdom, and wisdom comes from patience, which is a virtue, as you already know. A lot of this is just about slowing down and kind of paying attention and going, oh yeah, I was so caught up in the mental stream, which is kind of perpetuated by the society of certain and modern and urban living, that we can miss the what's in front of us. Can't see the wood for the bloody trees, man. And then the Surya, which is the sun, is the third finger. I always forget what they're called. It's the ring finger, isn't it? There we are. So if you try that one. That's to bring in the vitality of the sun, which you've already got the message. I'm a big fan of the sun. We are all sons of the sun, if you know what I mean. And then the buddhi is the final one, which is to do with communication. And this is all about communication. It's about deep listening. We actually call that shunya in Kundalini Yoga as well. The healing comes from really deeply listening to each other, of course, but first we need to really listen to ourselves, to the inner child, and to our unique soul vibration, which is already calling us home in this moment. So meditation is a real key, and that's Yogi Bhajan would always say, if Kundalini Yoga is the dinner, then meditation is the dessert. The point of the yoga is to meditate. And if you cannot really meditate, and I mean really meditate, and not many people can, so easily get into that profound state that the yoga facilitates in meditation, then you wouldn't need to do all the other stuff, right? But to really meditate is to be at one with who you really are. In Kundalini Yoga, you'll know if you've done it with me or with anyone, we talk about Satnam, the seed mantra, and that means your true identity. So that's what we're always pointing to. So meditation is a real key. We won't have time to do one today, but another time. So we've already talked about mantra. We've done some of those. I think we'll do one last exercise. So you know these mudras we've done, so what you can do with both hands. I've only got one hand. Well, I've actually got two hands, but one of them holding the mic. Well, it's true, the Maya. So the Kundalini is the life force. The cycle of life. In case you missed it, is in case you missed it from Police Academy. No one got that reference. Okay. So birth, life, death, rebirth. Yeah, that's the cycle of life. That's the cycle of the Kundalini. Sa, ta, na, ma. Yeah, so give it a go. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. And whisper it. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. Sa, ta, na, ma. And silently. And whisper, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. And back, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma, sa, ta, na, ma. Thank you. Well done. That's the Kirtan Kriya, so we've already completed a Kriya, so we got that in, boom. one last minute. Yeah, so it's really about mastering the mind, in a word. If you can master the mind, then you're in control of your life. So really, really take charge of your thoughts. And that meditation is the key to that. We talked a lot about ancestry. I'd love to come back and do another talk about something which I've brought back into the world, being from Wales, which is called dragon yoga. Sometimes I call it shamanic dragon yoga. And it's all born about the inspiration from when I read the Welsh poem by the 5th century bard Taliesin, and it talks about the sort of journey into the Celtic otherworld. I say unknown, I'm probably saying it wrong. But in there, what I realised is that was the chakras. Ellen said it talked about the Celtic chakras, and when I saw her that the order was different, and I looked at the poem again, it suddenly made sense. It's not linear in the Celtic tradition, in our tradition, in this land, which we're all a part of if we're here right now. You start here with the third eye. Of course, we're going in. We need to see where we're going, you know. So this is the Kaya Siddhi. Okay, then we go down to the base of Kaya Pedalifan. Kaya is a castle. It's an enclosed, spinning fortress in the other world. Okay, then we go all the way up to Kaya Vidwit, the land of milk and honey. Then we go spiraling in. We're going in deeper into Kaya Rigor at the sacral, and then we're coming up again into Kaya Guluth. I went a bit high because of the mic at the throat center. Coming down again into Kaya Vandui, the solar plexus, and then we made it into the Holy Grail. It's now called. It used to be called the magic cauldron of Ceridwen, Kaya Akren, and that is the Celtic legacy this is universal knowledge, guys. It's nothing to do with India, just we are blessed that India have remembered that which was eradicated everywhere else. Am I out of time? I'll leave it with that. Thanks very much.